Today's top stories, February 3, 2021. The Philippines is now finalizing deals with 5 vaccine firms. Manila Cathedral is now listed as a vaccination site. Government-imposed prices of pork products to take effect starting Monday. And radio station RMN partners with USAID in promoting marine conservation in the country. Good day, I am Rom Dulfo. Welcome to PNA Newsroom. Our top story, Malacanang assures more than 70 million Filipinos will be vaccinated against COVID-19. Vaccine Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. says the Philippines has now signed 5 term sheet agreements with vaccine manufacturers and has so far secured 108 million vaccine doses. The Philippines will also receive 40 million doses of vaccines under the COVAX facility.
Sabi pa po ng ating National Task Force Chief Implementer, mangyayari ang rollout sa 3rd quarter at 4th quarter ng taong 2021, bagamat inaasahan po natin ang unang delivery ay itong buwan ng Pebrero. Target ng ating pamahalaan na mabakunahan ng 100% ng population ng ating adult population. Around 70 million ang eligible population, hindi kasali dito ang nasa edad 1 hanggang 18. Meron din tayong 40 million doses of vaccine under the COVAX facility, which is worth $84 million. This is around 146 million doses to vaccinate 76 million adults, which is more than 100% of the adult population. Kasama sa pribadong sektor ang mayroong 178 million doses para sa 92 million Pilipino.
The government is finalizing the supply agreement for COVID-19 vaccines with 5 pharmaceutical firms. Vaccine Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. says they are hoping it would be done by the end of the month.
The supply agreement po na inayos po natin yung sa 5 at we are on the advanced stage already on the negotiation, and we are expecting that this coming end of month of February ay matapos na po yung lahat yung details ng supply agreement. Yung COVAX facility po ay nagbigay po ng sa atin ng positive favorable response na magbibigay po sila ng 177,000 na vaccine ng Pfizer at humigit kumulang sa 5 to 9 million na vaccine naman po sa AstraZeneca.
Those who intend to visit Boracay will still need to present a negative RT-PCR test result before entry. The reminder came after reports circulated on social media that the island has removed the mandatory requirement for travelers. The negative RT-PCR test result must be taken 72 hours before travel. Other requirements include hotel confirmation from a DOT-accredited accommodation establishment, a valid ID showing proof of residence in an area under GCQ or modified GCQ, and a completed online health declaration form. Domestic tourists can avail of the 50% subsidized test at the UP-PGH and Philippine Children's Medical Hospital. Manila Cathedral may now be used as a vaccination site. Meanwhile, Philippine Red Cross launched their drive-through saliva test. Details from Chris Mundo.
Manila Mayor Francisco Isko Moreno Domagoso thanked Bishop Broderick Pabilio and the leaders of the church for their offer, as it gave the city government more options to conduct their inoculation program. During the meeting, Bishop Pabilio said the Manila Cathedral may be used as a vaccination site from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. from Mondays to Fridays. He said they will just wait for Domagoso to inform them of the dates and other facilities needed for the vaccination campaign. He also expressed appreciation for the city's vaccination plan. Meanwhile, Manila City is also scaling up their efforts to boost the local economy by launching My Ni Love in Mehan Garden. Manileños can now celebrate the Love Month for free at the Mehan Garden, where there are live bands and stalls to perk up the place. Among the products you can buy are chocolates, flowers, shirts, delicacies, and other food items. This project is said to generate over 200 local jobs. Mehan Garden is open from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. daily. Meanwhile, the Philippine Red Cross has started conducting drive-through real-time reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction or RT-PCR saliva test in 2 SM supermalls. These are in SM Mega Mall in Ortigas and SM Mall of Asia in Pasay City. The locations will serve as specimen collection sites, while the samples will be forwarded to the PRC laboratories for testing. PRC Biomolecular Laboratories Chief Pauline Obial said the process is fast and convenient as results may be out within 3 to 5 hours. It only costs 2,000 pesos each, which is way cheaper than the current prices of the RT-PCR swab test. Those who want to book an appointment for their RT-PCR saliva test may do so via their website. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Crismundo.
Malacanang said it sees nothing wrong with the out-of-tow conferences of the Department of Agrarian Reform. This after the department, led by Secretary John Castriciones, conducted a 2020 year-end assessment and 2021 planning conference for Luzon Group at Travelers Hotel at the Subic Bay Free Port Zone in Zambales last month. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque says business-related gatherings, seminars, and other meetings, incentives, conferencing, and exhibition-related activities may be conducted in areas under the Modified General Community Quarantine or MGCQ at a 50% venue capacity. He said activities may also be conducted in areas under General Community Quarantine or GCQ at a 30% venue capacity.
Inalaw po ng IATF yung mga holding na mga trainings na ganito, provided susundin yung maximum capacity. At IBIN, ito po yung mga lugar na MGCQ, hindi po yan sa Metro Manila. Ibig sabihin, allowed po ang gathering basta 50% capacity.
About 2,000 Huawei tablets were donated to the Education Department. Chinese Ambassador Wang Xilian said the donation is intended to help the Philippine students overcome difficulties and get better access to distance learning resources amid the pandemic. He said the embassy would continue supporting the education endeavor of the Philippines to the best of its ability and further implement the Chinese government scholarship and Chinese ambassador scholarship projects. The tablets will be distributed to schools located in geographically isolated, disadvantaged, and conflict-affected areas. China has previously provided livelihood and medical supplies to the Philippines. Some Chinese local government agencies, as well as enterprises and civil groups, also donated nearly 10 million pieces of PPE and other medical supplies to the country. Still to come, government-imposed prices of pork products to take effect starting Monday. And Cebu prohibits the transport of live hogs in the province. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Sa matinding laban natin sa Coronavirus Disease 2019, sugpuin din natin ang pagkalat ng fake news. Huwag magbahagi ng impormasyon na hindi tiyak ang pinagmulan. I-check mabuti ang source ng balita. Kumuha lamang ng impormasyon mula sa mga official channel ng Department of Health. Huwag magpadala sa maling balita, basta't sama-sama at laging handa. Kaya natin to. Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito. Pangalagaan ang sarili laban sa Coronavirus Disease 2019. Hanggat maaari, umiwas sa mataong lugar. Iwasang hawakan ang ilong at bibig, maging malinis sa katawan at ugaliin ang wastong paghuhugas ng kamay. Takpan ang ilong at bibig kung uubo o babahing. Umiwas sa mga taong nagpapakita ng sintomas ng coronavirus disease gaya ng lagnat, ubo at sipon. Magsuot ng face mask kung kinakailangan. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa. Kaya natin to. Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
The House approved a measure proposing amendments to the restrictive economic provisions in the Constitution. The proposal, which is principally authored by Speaker Lord Alan Velasco, seeks to insert the phrase "unless otherwise provided by law," which limit foreign ownership of public utilities, educational institutions, media, and advertising. Velasco sought to liberalize the restrictive economic constitutional provisions, as this will allow Congress to enact laws that will free up the economy to foreign investors. He said this measure will provide the much-needed economic relief to Filipinos in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. A number of economists agreed that lifting foreign investment restrictions could improve foreign direct investment or FDI inflows into the Philippines, particularly in areas restricted in the Constitution. The new executive order that imposes a price ceiling on pork and chicken products in Metro Manila is likely to take effect on February 8. The Department of Agriculture and Livestock stakeholders will meet to discuss the repercussions of EO 124 to the industry. The new EO stated that prices of kasim or pige should be at 270 pesos per kilo, liempo at 300 per kilo, and dressed chicken at 160 per kilo for 60 days. The Assistant Secretary for Agribusiness, Christine Evangelista, also shared that they are taking into consideration to give producers and traders the grace period to earn back their capital. The DA is set to coordinate with DTI, DILG, Metro Manila Development Authority, and Metro Manila Council member cities, as well as municipalities, to ensure the efficient implementation of the EO. Bacolod City is preparing to receive its supply of COVID-19 vaccines with a dry run of the vaccination process on February 5. More on this and other news from the provinces from Janice Cave.
Bacolod City will hold a dry run of COVID-19 vaccination on February 5, ahead of the arrival of the vaccines in the coming months. The simulation exercises will be led by the City Health Office upon the instructions of Mayor Evelio Leonardia, who chairs the Bacolod COVID-19 Vaccination Council. In its proposal, the COVAC Council is planning to set up 5 mega vaccination centers and 20 community vaccination centers, including private and public schools. Bacolod has secured 650,000 doses from AstraZeneca Pharmaceuticals Philippines, set to be delivered starting July. In Cagayan de Oro City, a measure pending at the City Council seeks to declare every last Monday of February as COVID-19 Frontliners Month. Councilor Edgar Cabanlas, co-author of the measure, said it aims to honor the sacrifices and efforts of both medical and non-medical frontliners in the city's campaign against the pandemic. The city has a total of 3,332 total cases since March last year. Meanwhile, Antique will soon have its molecular laboratory to test specimens from suspected COVID-19 cases. Governor Rodora Cadiao spent her birthday on Tuesday by leading the groundbreaking ceremony for the proposed Angel Salazar Memorial General Hospital Molecular Laboratory. Cadiao said the molecular laboratory could be used not only to test COVID-19 but also other diseases like dengue. The Integrated Provincial Health Office said they expect the laboratory to start operations on the first week of March. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Cebu Province has an existing transport ban of live hogs and sows to other provinces in the country. Governor Gwendolyn Garcia on Tuesday said the ban is meant to prevent skyrocketing of pork prices in Cebu. The provincial capital has been alarmed by reports of rising prices of pork in the market due to African swine fever outbreak. Garcia said she issued the executive order to protect the 11 billion peso hog industry in Cebu, which stands to lose stocks for reproduction. The hog industry in Cebu province has been affected much with the ongoing shortage of swine and pork supply in Luzon following the outbreak of ASF 2 years ago. In business, the province of Bulacan now hosts the country's first pharmaceutical economic zone at the first Bulacan Business Park in Malolos City. The Philippine Economic Zone Authority, or PEZA, said the first mixed-use ecozone in the province will host pharmaceutical and information technology support firms. President Rodrigo Duterte declared FBBP as a special economic zone under Proclamation 1070. Philstar Marketing and Development, developer of the FBBP, invested some 571 million pesos for the so-called Pharma Park of the North. PEZA Director General Charito Plaza said the proclamation will surely spur pharma-related research, manufacturing, and tourism in the country. Plaza said they will promote the creation of more pharmaceutical ecozones in the country. Up next, free pneumonia shots are given to Pampanga elders, and radio station RMN partners with USAID in promoting marine conservation in the country. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Tandaan ang tamang paraan ng paghuhugas at paglilinis ng kamay upang makaiwas sa iba't ibang karamdaman. Basain ng tubig ang mga kamay at sabunin. Unang sabunin ang mga palad at ang likod ng mga kamay. Kuskusin na maigi ang pagitan ng mga daliri at maging ang mga kuko. Isunod ang pagitan ng mga hinlalaki at kuskusin ng paikot ang mga dulo ng mga daliri sa magkabilang palad. Banlawang mabuti ang mga kamay sa malinis na tubig at patuyuin ang mga kamay gamit ang single-use towel o air dryer. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito. Alamin ang mga dapat gawin sa lugar ng trabaho laban sa Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ang mga kumpanya ay dapat magbigay ng face mask sa kanilang mga empleyado. Bukod dito, magbigay kaalaman din patungkol sa COVID-19. Siguraduhing malinis ang kapaligiran. Maglagay ng sabon at hand sanitizer sa mga palikuran. Siguraduhing ligtas at nalutong maigi ang mga pagkain sa kantina. Obserbahan ang kalusugan ng mga empleyado at katrabaho. Kung sakali man na mayroon silang sintomas ng coronavirus disease gaya ng lagnat, ubot-sipon at hirap sa paghinga, ay agad ipasuri sa doktor. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
The PSA in Negros Oriental rolled out today its Step 2 registration for the country's national identification system. PSA Negros Oriental Provincial Chief Engineer Ariel Fortuido announced that only residents from Dumaguete City who completed the Step 1 registration last year for the PhilSys program would be accommodated. He said they still have to observe the system, which had glitches that delayed the rollout originally scheduled Tuesday. Barangay Tabuk Tubig registrants who have received a PSA system-generated confirmation were served first. Next week, the PSA might begin the Step 2 registration in 5 other local government units and onwards. Marawi residents, through their cooperatives, received livelihood aid from the United Nations. The details from Claire Gige.
6 cooperatives and homeowners associations were granted their own livelihood projects during the second batch of handover ceremony of community-managed livelihood projects. 5 cooperatives earlier received their own livelihood projects during the first batch of handover, while 2 others are still set to receive their own projects. This effort was implemented by the UN Habitat since 2018. It aims to boost economic activity in the city while undergoing rehabilitation. It also advocates unity, peace, and development among the IDPs.
Nakita nito yung peace and development. At ang peace and development ay yung cooperative and others association ay isang instrumento, no? Para masanay tayo na tayo dapat isama-sama. If you want to rebuild Marawi, dapat sama-sama.
As members of the cooperatives extended their gratitude for the livelihood assistance, Task Force Bangon Marawi Assistant Secretary Felix Castro Jr. reminded them to make the most out of it and be responsible.
Kami po ay nagpapasalamat po sa inyo lahat, national government, local government, especially po sa UN Habitat. Kung po dahil sa inyo, maaari hindi kami matingnan dahil po kay homeless po kami. Kami po ay mga homeless, hindi po kami nakatira sa mga shelter. So alhamdulillah, dumating po ng yung Habitat, naisali kami po sa mga programa ng yung Habitat, ay maraming po salamat sa inyo. Sa people ng Japan, salamat po.
Yan, nagawa ng yung Habitat ang trabaho niya. Kayo naman ang dapat mag-fulfill ng inyong responsibility. So yan, mas maganda rin nandyan at sama-kasama kayong magtutulungan para ma-improve ang inyong buhay.
For the PNA Newsroom, Claire Gighe of the Philippine Information Agency, Iligan City Information Center.
The city government of San Fernando in Pampanga launched on Tuesday its pneumococcal vaccination program to prevent the elderly from getting pneumonia. Some senior citizens in Barangay San Nicolas received the vaccine. The city health office said they provide pneumococcal vaccines, especially during the summer and cold seasons where the chance of pneumonia infection is high. The CHO allotted some 3,600 pneumonia vaccines and piloted the immunization drive with limited beneficiaries before eventually expanding to cover all barangays. The city government also launched the measles rubella vaccination drive, a regular program of the CHO in partnership with the DOH. The National Intelligence Coordinating Agency, or NICA, has stepped up efforts to counter the recruitment activities of communist terrorist groups led by the New People's Army in Region 12. This as the agency confirmed that the NPA and its allied organizations are targeting college or university students, including those coming from the Mindanao State University. NICA Region 12 Director Eduardo Marquez says these activities were confirmed by former NPA rebels who were captured or have surrendered in the region these past years. He clarified that it does not mean that MSU or any other college or university in the region have become hotbeds or breeding grounds of the NPA. NICA 12 and other members of the Soc-Sargen Regional Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict have expanded their awareness campaigns in the last 2 years to counter the NPA's recruitment activities. In sports, the governing body of the FIBA 3x3 remains keen on holding the FIBA 3x3 World Tour Masters in Manila. FIBA actually planned to hold the World Tour Masters in the Philippines last year, but was postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. FIBA 3x3 head Ignacio Soriano said they are looking forward to bringing the FIBA 3x3 World Tour back to the Philippines in 2021 after 2 amazing Masters in 2014 and 2015. Tugsugo Pilipinas 3x3, the premier domestic 3x3 league in the Philippines, has been tasked to have a major role in making the Masters happen. As the league enters its 3rd season, Soriano is expectant of what Chooks 3x3 has in offer for this year. The USAID and Radio Mindanao Network Foundation formalized a media partnership to promote marine conservation in the Philippines. USAID, through its Fish Right project, and RMN will produce and distribute messages on biodiversity conservation and sustainable fisheries management. RMN will use its broadcast facilities to better reach fishing communities in the Visayas. USAID's Fish Right project is a 5-year partnership between the U.S. and Philippine governments to address threats to biodiversity, improve governance of marine areas. It aims to increase fish health and numbers in South Negros, the Calamianes Island Group, and the Visayan Sea. The increase in fish will benefit more than 2 million people living in these fishing communities. Take one more look at today's biggest stories. The Philippines is now finalizing deals with 5 vaccine firms. Manila Cathedral is now listed as a vaccination site. Government-imposed prices of pork products to take effect starting Monday. And radio station RMN partners with USAID in promoting marine conservation in the country. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, check our webpage or check the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on PCOO and attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's the biggest stories that you need to know from PNA Newsroom. We tell stories that inspire change. I am Rom Dulfo. Have a good day.